So I think you can tell. What's up, everybody? I think it's streaming. This is Sound Booth Theater Live. Thanks for coming to hang out with me. We're gonna get started here pretty soon. Let's see. Today we have two authors that totally kicked major ass when it comes to recruiting all their people and bringing them to our Facebook page to vote on the poll. Those two authors are Taj L. and Richard Hummel. And their two books are Ruins of Majesta. That's Taj McCoy L. Is it Taj? I'm thinking Taj, like Taj Mahal. Taj McCoy L. And then Radioactive Evolution by Richard Hummel. I haven't even looked at these yet because that's just how I roll with this show. I like to just go completely, what do you call it? Off the cuff. That's what it's called. Sorry, I'm a little bit slow. I just kind of woke up from a nap. Of course, I got up just in time to get all the graphics ready for this. And I'm excited to do another Sound Booth Theater Live. Oh, here we go. We got our chat going. What's up, guys? Ian Mitchell's here, and Elise Renee? I'm gonna say Rennie. Ian and Taj L's already here. Yeah, like Taj Mahal. Okay, that's what I figured. And Richard, unfortunately, it looks like he won't be able to join us because he's on a plane. So I'm not sure where he's going. I hope he doesn't die while he's in the air. That will be the best way for things to go, in my opinion, if he survives the trip. And if he does, he can watch the replay. And yeah, so let's go ahead and... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I forgot to introduce the last thing. Or maybe I'll read this first. Charles Dean has sent me the prologue? Yes, the prologue of Aeternus 2 as a little preview. I'm really excited for that because Aeternus was one of my favorites to narrate from last year. I know we released it this year, but I narrated it last year. And when I got back from Thailand is when they actually got all the production done. But yeah, so I'm gonna read from this first. God, I should not take naps before this because my brain is still kind of trying to catch up with me. Let's see. I need to. He emailed that prologue to me a long while back. I'm trying to remember what his email address is now. It's bleep at bleep.com, I believe. Come on. Why is it not here? Sorry, guys. I'm gonna go look for it on my computer and then email it to myself. Oh, I don't have to go anywhere. I can just do it from right here. Okay. There he is. Here it is. Okay. So, for any of you who haven't listened to it, Aeternus is on Audible right now. I think this is Charles's second series to have made it to Audible. His first series was Bathrobe Night, not too late into in the later portion of 2017 is when the first Bathrobe Night came out on Audible last year. I believe the second one is going to be done anytime now. And that one he actually released, the original Kindle version of it, he released before Lit RPG was even a thing. So Charles is technically a major veteran of this genre. And so Bathrobe Knight was sort of like, right at the beginning of when everyone was going crazy over Lit RPG. And now he's got this new one that I think is innovative for the genre as well. War Aeturnus, instead of being stuck in a video game, the characters are kind of stuck in a video game-like world designed by gods to sort of... Well, actually, I shouldn't really tell you even that much. That it's kind of a mystery the way things are set up in the book anyway. So go check it out. But if you have listened to it, this will be a treat. And I think one of... I don't know, you either love him or hate him, but Miller's featured prominently here. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go grab some water for myself. Look who's back. Did you guys miss my big, ridiculous neon pink mug? Oh, that's good. Another reason I'm so drowsy. I had a big meal. I had a big lunch. Went and saw Black Panther. I don't know if you guys saw that. I was a bit disappointed. The critics were at what 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. It definitely wasn't a 97% movie. I mean, it was okay. It was fun, but there's issues. Like Black Panther, the actual the suit, him and his mirror match villain in the movie, they looked terrible. I mean, the design of the suit is cool. In a vacuum with no context, not in motion, it looks cool. But in the movie, it reminds me of a cutscene from a video game like early 2000s, late 1990s, like really bad special effects when it came to the Black Panther. Like, he looked so much better in Civil War. I don't know what they did, or if they got a different company to do the special effects. But it just doesn't look good. It just looks very fake and gross. So that really had a negative impact, because obviously that's the main character. That's the character we want to look at the most, and he's got a cool costume with cool gear, and it just turned out bad. That makes me wonder how it possibly got such good ratings, but anyway. Okay, here goes. Miller's entire body went stiff and cold as he heard screams coming from downstairs. They were the same screams he heard every night in his sleep, the hollowing pain that had haunted his dreams for a decade. The voice, even scratched and brutally echoing off of her vocal cords, was unmistakable. It was Kate's, his fiancée's. He knew it was just a dream. He knew it wasn't real, and he even knew what would happen next. But he couldn't help himself. He got out of his childhood bed and started running downstairs. No matter how many times reason urged him not to, reminded him what happened next, his body moved with swift automation. Oh, my voice doesn't sound good today. Truffle says, yeah, sure, you just want to put pants back in. Oh, on, okay. He wanted to save her. He wanted to stop their brutality, just one time. Even if it was in a dream, he felt that saving her would give him some small modicum of peace and might let him sleep the night. But he couldn't stop his body from charging down the stairs like an angry bull. As soon as he reached the bottom, he froze. It wasn't just the sight of his fiancée, the love of his life, grabbing and tearing at the floor as she was abused. It was the sight of who was doing it. Okay, sorry, this is weird. I haven't read it yet, so I'm trying to even figure this out myself. Because this isn't, this is kind of intense, man. I don't know how to do his voice outside of the game. No, I don't have the wrong book image up because this is the second one, and there's no image yet for the second one. Right? This is the War Aeturnus cover you guys are seeing, right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm reading War Aeturnus 2, and I'm trying to figure out how to do these voices because this is kind of weird. I did not expect this. And when I start reading it, you'll understand why. My worthless son, his father said, kicking his fiancée before turning around to face him. Out of all the wenches and worthless harlots in this town that you could have picked, you picked a human. See, this is... I'm not sure if this is, in the game, out of the game? His dad punctuated the word human with an exaggerated spit on the bleeding, gutted woman beside him. No. His mouth moved, following the dream script to the letter. No. Why did you... No! His body, still growing even more stiff as his mind, hazed over with anger, charged forward. He was the embodiment of the angry, charging bull, and just like the blind bull, he couldn't dodge the matador's stab either. Before he had made it even 2 steps, pain shot through him as a knife lodged itself into his back. Calm down, brother, the dagger holder chuckled into his ear. We're doing this for your own good. My own good? My own good? He yelled, just raging despite the cripple in pain as he did his best to pull himself forward. I'll kill you. I'm going to kill you! The knife dug in further, preventing speech as it reached past skin and through muscle. That run of a brother of yours is right. His dad laughed, kicking his crying fiancée again. We're doing this for your own good. This wench is just our name. This wench is just after our bloodline. A filthy low-born like her, trying to crawl her way up through our name and blood.
You were just a pawn in her scheme, and we're helping you out since you're obviously too stupid and foolish to see."
Miller could hear his father. The words registered, but they didn't at the same time. The only sound that was really playing in his head was the sound of his woman sobbing, the strength already having left her as she stared back at him. He could see the wounds they had inflicted on her, each one slow and deliberate. He could feel the agony she had gone through as his eyes took in each and every gash and tear in her body. I will kill you all," he said, forcing the words and a mouthful of blood out of his body as a surge of strength he didn't know he had roiled through him, imbuing him with enough power to walk forward, unhampered by the older brothers pulling and tugging as he completely ignored the blade in his back.
"Ah, there it is. The strength of a herald, the blessings of a chosen one."
Is that what I was doing for his father's voice? Sorry. The father's voice echoed in his head, but he wasn't paying attention.
"That's what the whore was after. Show her what she almost had before she dies,"
he said, picking her head up and holding a dagger to her throat.
"You see that, darling? That's for us, the chosen ones. Not you. Not your kind of ants that spread like vermin through our lands. Now, it's time to say goodbye. Isn't it, little ant?"
he asked as Miller came closer, before cutting her throat and then retreating through a window behind him so fast that Miller didn't even have the ability to get out the first syllable of the cry that escaped him the second her throat was slit. This is intense, Charles. Jesus. After his father was gone, Miller rushed forward, holding on to the woman in front of him. "I'm sorry," he said to her, stroking her face as the life slowly left her body. "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry," he repeated over and over again. Her death was his fault. He had never expected this betrayal, and he had never thought that bringing her home would have this reaction. "I'm sorry," he wept, even as more blood oozed out of his back. His anger was leaving him one tear at a time, and all he was left with was despair as he cradled her in his arms. "I'm so sorry. Please don't leave me," he pleaded, half with her, half with fate.
"Relax, brother. In the morning you'll have forgotten all about her,"
the backstabbing runt said from behind him, cocky arrogance seeping through every word. Miller ignored him, though, still kneeling down and holding on to her now lifeless body. He didn't want to let go. "Come on, get up and leave that
Come on, get up and leave that...
Where'd he go?
Come on, get up and leave that empty thing alone,"
the brother said, before spitting on her body. The taunting had been just enough to snap Miller back to the present. His depression ebbed back momentarily, and a wave of anger once more flooded the shores of his mind as his eyes went red, his muscles tightened, and he could feel himself losing control. He stood up and turned to face the brother who had literally stabbed him in the back. "Traitors, backstabbers, bastards who will all die!" Miller's thoughts gave him purpose as he reached out and pushed on his brother as hard as he could, sending the thinner, scrawny man into the wall.
"Fine! Get it out of your system,"
the brother said, misunderstanding Miller's intentions.
"But I'm not going to take a beating so easily. I'm still your better in a fight."
He laughed, wiping a little blood off of his lips as if it was an action movie, while he stood up and raised his hands to defend himself. Miller ignored the defense. He shredded it instantly as he reached out and grabbed the man's forearms and pulled in opposite directions as hard as he could. He could hear the shattering as the shoulders dislocated moments before his brother screamed. "You and him did worse to her,"
Miller finally spoke as he heard his brother's cry. You did worse, so you must suffer worse. You must feel what she felt. You must understand her pain, he said, dropping the squirming body to the ground before picking up his brother's knife. I will teach you her pain, but you will never know how much your betrayal has hurt me.
Stop it! He cried. Stop it, please stop it! We were just trying to help you! She was just a bloodline digger! She was only after your blessings!
He pleaded, and for a moment, Miller wavered. 1,000 memories of his brother helping and being there for him as he grew up came rushing through his head as he contemplated where to stab the bastard first.
Stop it!
Okay, so it is Furbolgs. God damn it. See, I should have been doing the accent the whole time. But I feel like I ruined the whole thing because of that. All right, I'm gonna switch to Miller accents from now, for all of them, because they're all Furbolgs.
Stop at this instant!
See, it turns this into a comical scene. No matter how gory it is, if I'm doing Miller's accent, it's all going to be funny.
Stop at this instant!
A feminine voice penetrated the blood-filled room.
They did it because I told them to. They did it because I didn't want my gift to be passed on to the mutt child of a human.
Miller didn't recognize the voice, but the gravitas gave it away instantly. It was 002's voice, the god of ice, the benefactor of Furbolgs everywhere in 003, his ancestor.
Put down the knife and come with me. I need a herald in the upcoming war, and now that you aren't encumbered by that trash, and you've proven your strength, you're perfect for the job.
002 tried to reason with Miller.
You had them kill her?
Miller said, feeling yet another pang of betrayal.
You had them kill her, and you want me to work for you?
He could feel the tears on his face beating up and his heart beating faster as he took in what was said to him.
For blood? For stupid blood!
He yelled. And
I'm sorry. Everything has lost its dramatic flair.
He yelled, and then in one swift motion he took the knife in his hand and stabbed right in the middle of his brother's face, splitting the nose in two as it crushed through cartilage and bone. Then, as his brother blinked, not even registering his own death, Miller dug his hands into his brother's eye sockets and ripped the skull in two with the strength his rage had given him.
"Calm down and listen to reason,"
the god chided behind him.
"Did you have them torture her too? Did you have them take their time as well?"
he asked, discarding the broken head as he tossed the corpse to the ground.
"I told them to dispose of the trash like it was trash."
The god didn't back down from her position at all.
"Then I want you to know, I will join your stupid game. I will find my way in."
That's illegal. Lau! No! Lau! I'm streaming here. Sorry guys, I'm trying to watch both chats at the same time. We'll just have to ignore her. I'm sorry about that.
I will find my way in, and I will find your herald, whoever you choose. I will find the bastard, and I will dispose of trash like it was trash, he finished, spitting on his brother's corpse before leaving the house. If she is the god of ice, then I will find a god of fire. If there isn't one, then I will become one. I will make one, and I will burn her existence from the world, he told himself as he left his home, penniless, destitute, with only anger to fuel him on. I don't know, that there's a weird word here that shouldn't be.
Miller.
Another voice called to him as his dream morphed into an empty white room.
Miller, it's okay,
the voice said. It was his fiancée's voice, and there she now stood in a white dress, her red hair cascading like a flame in the wind as she remained a visage of beauty before him.
It's okay, Miller, because Augustus has taken me to somewhere better than 003 ever was, where we can be together one day again. Everything will be better. Everything is fine now.
Yeah, Miller, Lee said, appearing beside him and placing a hand on his shoulder. Everything will be okay. We'll kill all the traitors together. We'll kill all the traitors together. We'll burn them all. Miller turns to face Lee, and then the images faded altogether as he jolted upright in bed.
It was only a dream, Miller thought. It was only a dream,
he told himself again, trying to calm his still rapidly beating heart. No matter how many times he experienced and relived that memory, it had always been the same dream. It was only since he had met Lee and read the Book of Augustus that anything at all had changed. When he saw that blank canvas, not a single commandment or scripture on how one should act, he knew he had found what he was looking for, clay that he could mold. He had made his god of fire, and he was now going to burn the world clear of that icy winch that took everything he loved.
Father, Harold, I will find you again, he said, equipping his spear and readying his armor. Except next time, you won't get the better of me.
Okay. That's that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I fucked that up. The one reason why I was confused is because there are some things that Charles has told me about Miller, especially when he was trying to tell me how to actually how to voice him and stuff, where he's coming from, that it completely confused this scene. So I guess I should have been doing Miller accents for everybody. But anyway, that's the prologue for War Aeternus 2. So right away we get some extra damn character development for our man Miller, which I think is nice because I think he's interesting enough to know where he came from. But anyway, Ruins of Majesta is up next by Taj McCoy. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should do, I'm going to do Richard's instead first. Sorry guys. Because he says on the YouTube chat that he's going to be able to watch because his flight got delayed, I guess, and I want to do Richard's hopefully we can do his before it's time for his flight to leave. All right, cool. So, my dog. So Richard has given me a couple YouTube videos to listen to. Let me mute myself here on YouTube, and I'll mute myself on Twitch. so that I can actually listen to these voices he's talking about. By the way, thank you, Charles, for requesting a bit of War Aeternus 2. I can't wait to get started listening to, or reading it. Okay, here we go. So this is for Scarlet. She only speaks using telepathy, so the mysterious reverb sound works well.
Appearances can be deceiving, Aeturnus.
So can the children of Olympus.
Perhaps. But remember, my death came by your blade.
My blade was meant for Zeus.
Thank you, Kratos.
Our journey is far from over.
Wait. Okay, was that the... I guess that was the lady he wanted me to emulate. We already passed her. Holy crap, this girl is... whoever this voice actress is super hot. What's her name? Natalie Lander. Look her up, guys. Wow. Wow. Let's listen to her one more time.
Left me no choice. Death cannot hold those of purpose, Kratos.
Athena,
I have mysteries, Spartan.
I don't.
My sacrifice to save Zeus has brought me to a higher existence.
Erin Torpy is this Torpe
Still appear to be
voice actress.
Appearances can be deceiving, Kratos.
This voice acting
So
is
can the
not
children of Olympus.
not very good.
So can the children of Olympus.
My blade was meant for Zeus.
Thank you, Kratos.
All right. Okay, so that's what he wants Scarlet to sound like, not like Kratos, like the ethereal voice that you heard. All right, and then the main character, I want him to have a serious, reflective type voice that resonates a pensive demeanor. I also like the vocal fry bit, since he's spent nearly 2 years alone. It adds a little unused or halting quality to the voice. It can be lightened a bit if needed. Okay, so let's hear what he has as a sample.
A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Chapter
Liam Neeson, okay.
The monster showed up just after midnight, as they do. Connor was awake when it came. He'd had a nightmare. Well, not a nightmare. The nightmare. The one he'd been having a lot lately. The one with the darkness and the wind and the screaming. The one with the hands slipping from his grasp, no matter how hard he tried to hold on. The one that...
Okay. I got it.
He wants Liam Neeson. Does he want the accent as well? All right. Let's see what we can do.
All right, so this is Radioactive Evolution by Richard Hummel. You guys can, if you look in the video description, you can find the link to Richard's Book Brawl account. He wants you to look him up on RRL Railroad as well, I think, but either way, it should be good. I think Book Brawl is probably going to eventually overtake Railroad, to be perfectly honest, guys, because if you haven't seen that website yet, it's pretty well organized and nice looking, and I like the way that the actual digital book works, the formatting of the digital book. So go check out bookbrawl.com. A female redneck Liam Neeson. I'll try that sometime. Oh, and also, if you guys want to check out War Aeturnus on Audible, the link to that is also in the description below, so... Accent is optional. Okay.
I'll just go for American. Jared awoke sometime later. He didn't know how much time passed, and lack of sunlight didn't help.
Wait. This is just the narration. This is third person. Is Jared the MC? Jared awoke sometime later. He didn't know how much time passed, and the lack of sunlight didn't help. As his mind cleared, Jared looked around and found himself curled up next to... Scarlet?
Hello, Jared. The transference is complete.
How? What happened to you?
Scarlet no longer resembled the small red lizard with nubs for wings. She stood as tall as Jared on all fours, and a beautiful pair of scarlet wings protruded from her back. Her eyes now burned with that same inner light as her mother's had, and Jared knew that she lived on within Scarlet. He walked around her and marveled at her beauty. Where her mother radiated deadliness, Scarlet personified majesty. Her scales shone with a soft inner glow highlighting the scarlet pattern that adorned her entire body. Her wings reflected the molten pools of her eyes.
You are beautiful.
Thank you.
Jared felt her pride as emotions bled through their telepathic link. He couldn't wait to see her in the sunlight and observe her soaring through the sky.
How long was I unconscious?
You were asleep for 3 days. The psionic barrier my mother created will remain in place for another day if you need more rest.
No, I'm fine. In fact, I feel amazing and my body no longer hurts from the bonding. Where is your mother?
Higher pitch on whose voice, Richard? Richard wants a higher... Jared's, okay.
No, I'm fine. In fact, I feel amazing, and my body no longer hurts from the bonding. Where is your mother?
Even as he asked, Jared recalled the last moments before he faded out of existence. Alexstrasza's body and soul dissolved into the ether as he and Scarlet absorbed the nanites. She had given herself over to them, body and soul.
She now lives within us.
Jared reflected for a time before he said,
I don't feel any changes.
He said this. As he said this, Jared looked down at his body and froze.
What the?
Jared ripped off his shirt.
Oh, yeah!
The nanites altered his body significantly. Where before he stood just over 6 feet tall, he now stood at 6.5 feet. His arms and legs rippled with muscle, and...
I have a six-pack.
Jared whipped his head around as he heard a huffing noise from Scarlet. She stared right at him as he admired his body. His face burned with embarrassment, and he put his shirt back on.
Let's go. I think we should start by thoroughly exploring these tunnel systems.
Jared quickly changed the topic of conversation.
We can both see in the dark, and I know for certain there are creatures we can take out in here.
They walked nearly a mile when he noted a half-buried door on the right. The faded sign was ineligible, but he wanted to inspect it. Based on the rubble strewn about, it's possible this room was intact. Holstering the pistols he'd been carrying, Jared bent down, bracing his feet, and shoved. He expected it would take a significant effort to move the slab of concrete, but instead the slab shifted out of the way and he launched headfirst into the wall. Jared groaned and grabbed his head. There was that huffing noise again from Scarlet, and he whipped his head around to glare at her. That was a mistake. The movement sent a spike of pain lancing through his head.
I guess it's going to take me a while to get used to my new strength. Give me a minute to clear my mind. Keep an eye out for those lizard things. That was a lot of noise and might attract something to us.
Head cleared, Jared resumed excavating the buried door. Reaching up, he He grabbed the edge of the door and pulled. As he pulled the door, a screeching noise emanated from the hinges and echoed down the tunnel.
"Dang it!"
hissed Jared. He paused and listened for any noises, and just as he thought they were in the clear, he heard skittering and shrieks. The sounds projected from two directions. Advertisements! The sounds projected from two directions at once. He slammed the door shut and put his back to it as a thump reverberated through the door. Jared whipped his head around to see Scarlet facing off against three of the lizard creatures.
"Scarlet, watch out!"
A fourth creature clung to the ceiling and prepared to leap onto her back. Scarlet lunged at the nearest lizard and clamped her jaws on its throat. At the same time, Jared drew his phase pistol and fired at the creature dropping from the ceiling. He scored a glancing hit along its side that also served to alter its trajectory. The retort of the gun also attracted the rest of the creatures to him. Thump! Thump! Whatever existed beyond the door Jared just opened continued to strive for escape. From the noise, it seemed several creatures wanted to escape. Dude, I can't find a new reader app on the damn Kindle. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it. With them. Or whatever. It's really annoying. I think that Kindles just suck. I think that's maybe what I should be taking away from these lessons. Okay. Scarlet killed the first creature and pounced on the injured one he shot. I could use my iPad instead. I think I'll switch to that next time. Scarlet killed the first creature and pounced on the injured one he shot. At the same time, Jared lined up a shot on another lizard and pulled the trigger. At the last second, it dodged out of the way and leapt at him. He pulled his arm back and rocketed a jab into the creature's face as it descended toward him. Its head snapped back with a sickening crunch and teeth shattered. Jared had no time to assess the damage or if he killed the creature as the remaining lizard clamped its jaws around his extended forearm. Ah! Jared felt each of its teeth sink into his flesh like tiny daggers. On instinct, he quickly extracted his arm, which caused a new round of pain to ignite as the teeth violently ripped from his arm. Bringing his pistol to bear, he unloaded 3 rounds point-blank into the lizard's head. It exploded in a gout of blood and brains. It wasn't as spectacular as the first lizard creature he killed in these tunnels. He'd used his Colt then, and the ballistic round made the head pop like a ripe melon. In contrast, the phase round cauterized the wounds. Still, enough blood and gore shot outward to raise bile in the back of his throat. The lizard died instantly. He looked around to see if the one he punched was still down and noticed it stumbling just a few paces. It crashed into a column after he punched it and appeared dazed. Before he could shoot the creature again, Scarlet's tail eviscerated it through the neck, spraying blood against the wall. The thumping beyond the door continued, and it felt like dozens of creatures struggling to get to him. Whatever awaited them on the other side seemed more feral and mindless than the lizards, and it sent a jolt of fear through Jared.
"Scarlet, help me hold this door closed so we can get into a better position to take these things out."
Scarlet bounded over, stood up on her hind legs, and braced to the top of the door. Some pressure relieved, Jared maneuvered the slab of concrete in front of the door. He positioned it so he could fire through the crack in between them. As soon as he finished setting it up, he asked Scarlet to step back. No sooner did she step back when the door smashed into the concrete, moving it an inch.
"This will not last long," he told Scarlet. "Can you breathe fire into the room? It might be more effective than unleashing a bunch of phase rounds through it.
I can try.
Scarlet hesitated. This would be the first time she attempted to breathe fire, and Jared understood the hesitation. Standing a few paces away from the crack in the door, they observed grotesque muzzles covered in congealed blood and bits of flesh peeking through the door as they tried to get to them. The roar echoed down the tunnel, accompanied by a whoosh of orange flame that entered the enclosed space beyond the door. Oh no, that's her breathing fire. I thought that I was just doing more of the lizard things. How do you make a sound like you're breathing fire? Let me think. That might work. Get a little bit of that wind in there. The creatures in the tunnel raised their voices in a cacophony of cries and wailing. Jared heard claws scraping and bodies thumping throughout the room. The sickly smell of burned flesh permeated the air and seeped into Jared's nostrils, making him gag. Jared looked at her in awe. "Scarlet, that was amazing!"
I need to rest. That hurt. A lot. I've never felt flame like that rolling through my body.
Take all the time you need. I'll remove the concrete and eliminate any of the creatures left. The debris cleared. He walked into the room and viewed carnage everywhere. Whoa. Jared took a step back, doubling over as nausea came over him. The creatures here looked like rats the size of a dog. Half a dozen of the creatures lay in smoldering pools of liquefied fat, all hair singed from their bodies. What remained of their maws showed a row of serrated yellow teeth that secreted viscous fluid. Their feet ended in claws several inches long, and the entire corridor bore evidence of their passage. Everywhere Jared looked, deep furrows marred the surface where claws attempted to dig through the wall and door. Looking further down the corridor, he noted a pair of beady eyes observing him. A lone rat untouched by the fire. He saw several lacerations across the creature's back and suspected it fought the other rats after Scarlet set them on fire. Scarlet, we may have more company soon. Jared looked down the tunnel with trepidation. How are you feeling?
I still feel twinges of pain, and I don't know if I can breathe fire again so soon, but I will fight.
The lone rat at the end of the tunnel continued to glare at him as he approached. It did not run as Jared brought his phase pistol up. Before he squeezed the trigger, the rat let out a shrill cry. The phase round disintegrated its head, and Jared stared down its cauterized stump of a neck as it fell to one side. Excuse me. Before the round impacted, the rat screeched a warning down the tunnel. A low buzzing and skittering echoed off the tunnel walls. The noise grew louder, accompanied by screeching and hissing. Jared felt vibrations through the soles of his boots as dozens of rats rounded the corner at a full gallop. Oh no. Scarlet! Run! Jared pulled his second phase pistol and unloaded rounds into the mass of rats. The initial volley caused them to slow their rampage down to the corridor, but he knew it wouldn't last for long. Who's saying this?
Get ready to slam the door shut. Wait until I say now.
He backpedaled toward the door while discharging round after round into the oncoming rush of Rottweiler-sized rodents. Exiting the room, he paused just far enough away from Scarlet to shut the door and continued peppering the mob until he ran out of phase rounds. Okay, so that was supposed to be Jared saying that, sorry. Now! Scarlet slammed the door just as half a dozen of the creatures jumped at the opening. The impact reverberated through the room and knocked loose one hinge.
Crap. We have to move. This door won't hold them back.
Jared moved the slab of concrete in front of the door once more and sprinted down the tunnel. Spotting the stairs leading out of the sublevel, he took them 4 at a time with Scarlet close on his heels.
When we get to the collapsed area at the top, get behind me. If any of them get close, try to hit them with your tail.
The rats slowed as they attempted to scramble up the stairs for their next meal.
Target practice!
Whooped Jared as he set to picking them off 1 at a time.
Target practice!
Whooped Jared as he set to picking them off 1 at a time. As he killed the creatures, several of them pounced on their now dead allies and ripped into them with abandon. Bits of flesh and shrieks of dying rats assaulted his ears as he watched the rats revert to cannibalism. The scene disgusted him, but at least provided a distraction and gave him more time to kill them. He continued a steady stream of phase rounds, but the rats kept coming.
There must be over 100 of these things.
Jared adjusted his aim to target rats further down the stairs. He wanted to create as much mayhem as possible. Since the rodents prioritized feasting on anything in their path, it served as a great diversionary tactic.
Scarlet, is there anything you can throw at them?
Instead of answering, a human-sized chunk of concrete spiraled into the midst of the feral rats. Jared felt a trickle of rocks pelt him in the head and glanced up.
Whoa, wait! Scarlet! Maybe hold off on throwing stuff. This area looks unstable and it might collapse if you pull out any more concrete.
I like it that you guys troll me in that chat. That's why I like Twitch as well, because it's easier to incorporate the chat into the actual video. Well, I mean, obviously I could do it with YouTube too. He glanced above the rats and thought about trying to collapse the ceiling, but the way the stairs sloped at a decline, the entire length would collapse and they'd end up buried too.
Get ready! I can only hold them off a little longer. My phase pistols are about to run out of charge and I only have 6 shots with my Colt.
Excuse me. The idea of running out of weapons scared Jared, but at the same time he felt empowered to try out his newfound physical strength. Jared's phase pistols ran out of juice. Quickly pulling his Colt, he fired the 6 shots in rapid succession, tearing holes through the creatures and making them pause in their ascent. Jared holstered his depleted weapons and set himself to defend with his body.
Please let my increased strength be enough.
With just a few seconds to catch his breath before the critters reached him, his fear morphed into determination as he prepared for a life-and-death battle. Seconds later, he booted the first and second rats into the ceiling, where they dropped into the crowd below and their previous allies ripped them apart. Jared kicked as fast as he could, but there were so many. When he thought they would reach him, Scarlet's tail flashed by repeatedly, punching holes through the creatures. The bodies dropped in place, creating a barrier in front of him. Rats scurried over their fallen brethren, and Jared could no longer use his feet, so he punched them as fast as possible. Unfortunately, he didn't have the leverage to kill them with his hands. All he could do was knock them back. He began to sweat, wondering if this was more than they could chew.
Scarlet, I'm out of options here.
Switch places with me. The pile of bodies will protect me from below.
Launching a couple more punches to give him space, he jumped back and Scarlet took his place. She was a whirlwind of death as her jaws and tail darted back and forth, wreaking havoc on the rats. While he had a moment of reprieve, he finished more rounds from his pack and reloaded his Colt. He leaned around Scarlet to fire.
We're almost there, Scarlet. There's only a dozen left.
He aimed carefully, making sure he didn't hit his dragon, and squeezed the trigger. Again, he reloaded and fired into the last few rats.
We did it! Jared breathed a sigh of relief and slumped to the ground. He and Scarlet looked like walking nightmares, covered head to toe in gore. Blood flowed down the stairs like a river. Dozens of rats moaned as they bled out on the steps. We almost died at the hands of some rats.
Jared, we need to move. All this blood will attract worse creatures than rats.
He studied his hands, the way rat blood lingered around his own wounds. I need to get these cuts cleaned before we go any further. I bet these things carry poison or some other disease with them, and it's in the cuts on my hands.
Your nanites should take care of any diseases. But we have both absorbed nanites from dozens of these creatures, so whatever ability allows them to secrete the poison may also manifest in us. I will study their nanites when we find a place to rest.
Jared took a deep breath to calm himself. I'm ready. We should head back to the corridor where these things came from. I'm willing to bet we killed the entire den. Maybe we can barricade ourselves in their room to rest. They retraced their steps to the den and paused at the threshold. Several dead rats littered the entrance next to the burned corpse from Scarlet. Looks like they turned on each other to get to us, mused Jared. The corridor opened into a massive room. Rat remains, bones, garbage, and every conceivable kind of refuse littered the space. Mounds of bones served as impromptu dens, and molted rat fur covered every inch. The smell of rotting flesh fought its way to his nostrils, giving Jared's gagging reflex a run for its money. I don't care how tired I am. There's no way I'll rest here. I can barely breathe through the noxious fumes. Jesus. I can barely breathe from the noxious fumes.
Maybe there is another room that leads away from this place we can use.
Let's start on the left and work our way around. Stay together. Who knows what might live in here. Picking their way around the room, they navigated to the back corner and saw nothing that suggested another way out. Small holes littered the sides of the room. Jared crouched down, contemplative. I'm guessing this is how the rats got in and out of here. But I don't see... Jared dropped to his knees and grabbed his head while Scarlet whined and shut her eyes. The sound pierced his skull and left his ears ringing. Shaking his head to clear it, he looked towards the corridor they came from. Instead of the corridor, he saw a huge mound of fur standing on hind legs and screeching for all it was worth. The shrillness stabbed at his brain, making him groan in pain. Standing at 10 feet tall on its hind legs, a massive black rat blocked the only entrance. Its red eyes burned holes into them, and its jaw, filled with massive canine-like teeth, radiated a cloud of green fumes. Screeching one more time for good measure, the creature rushed them. Crap. All right, that's it. Radioactive Evolution by Richard Hummel. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought it was fun. People stopped commenting on YouTube. How many people are watching? We got 16 people watching now. That's pretty good. Thanks for coming, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. A bit Sean Connery, but gruffer and less accent. Oh, okay. We're talking to Taj now. So let's look at Taj L's entry. First of all, Richard, thank you so much for requesting and bringing all your peeps over here. I hope you'll request again sometime. It's because YouTube chat sucks. Why is that? Ha, that screech scared the crap out of my kid. Sorry, Ian. And now we are moving on to Ruins of Majesta by Taj McCoy L, who also brought a shit ton of people over here. And by the way, guys, if you guys like this show, if you liked doing this request stuff, please go check out the other poll that's up right now. It's for the next Sound Booth Theater Live that will be celebrating the launch of the Sound Booth Theater website. And that is going to be Saturday, March 3rd, when I actually do the Sound Booth Theater requests only, the stream. And that's actually when the website will be ready to look at.
in theory. Something kind of happened over this week. First of all, Annie Ellicott was supposed to come hang out with me for a couple weeks so that we could record a bunch of stuff, record her voice on a bunch of audiobooks. Like, we had 5 planned. And there was one book in particular that was, it was the biggest job because it was from the highest profile author. I'm not going to reveal which author this was or which project this was. It's supposed to be a secret. There's I don't know, I told someone who let it leak out. So whoever that was, shame on you, sir or madam. Anyway, that author decided to postpone that book kind of last minute. So that was a big chunk of work that Annie was supposed to be doing, and I mean, she lives in Tulsa. I live in Kansas City. So her driving all the way out here and staying for a while and doing jobs over here in my booth, it's like she's given up a lot of time and scheduling, because she's a musician. She tours. She has a busy schedule. So in order to make sure that this trip was worth it, I came up with a new plan. We may or may not go with this plan because we still need to talk to the people who are running it. But if you guys have ever heard of VO Atlanta, it's this voiceover conference in Atlanta. And we are thinking about taking a road trip out there and doing that for a few days. It's March 1st through 4th. So that's like in the same time that Sound Booth Theater Live is. It's the same time the website is launching. So I need to talk to a bunch of people to see if this is possible. If this trip, if I can even do this trip with her. But if we do the trip, it's only if I'm able to arrange for everything to still happen on Saturday. That would mean that the actual requests only is going to be done somewhere in Atlanta. Maybe Lori will let us use her booth. Maybe we'll find someone else with a different booth to use that's in Atlanta. I mean, I know there's plenty of VOs out there. I'll talk to one of them and see if I can use it for Saturday. But yeah, so keep an eye out, guys. I'm going to keep you guys updated on that on the Sound Booth Theater Live Facebook group. Because if we do go on this trip, if we do go on this road trip, we're actually going to record it. We're gonna have some GoPros. We're gonna have another camcorder, and we're gonna record as much as we can of it. And Annie's gonna edit a video together for us. I'm thinking about starting a new web series, tentatively titled Sound Booth Theater on the Road, where we visit other narrators across the country, where I just road trip over to wherever they are, kind of take a look at their city, take a look at their booth, and interview them, get to know them a little bit. It's not a drinking meetup, although I'm sure there will be drinking at some point, but it's a bunch of voiceovers. And it's March 1st through 4th, like it's a big thing. Lots of industry people, lots of things to do, lots of stuff to learn, lots of networking, and it ought to be awesome. It ought to be really fun, and I think it'll be great to actually get Annie, into that crowd so that she can meet some of these people, because, I mean, I'm sure she can find opportunities there as well. So, but I think you guys would maybe be interested in seeing, other narrators in the business that, maybe aren't necessarily in, working for Sound Booth Theater, but are at least independent, producing independently. Because that's what Sound Booth Theater really loves, is independent work, independent producers. So yeah, so keep an eye out. We'll see what happens. I'll update you guys if anything changes. But yeah, if you want to support that requests only, if you want to win a 3-month Audible subscription, go make a request on that poll. And on the original poll on the Sound Booth Theater Live Facebook group, not on the shared poll. the original one. Make a request there. Post the link to one of my audiobooks, the one that you want to hear, and you can. We'll put your request on the poll, and if your request gets voted into the top 6, you get that 3-month subscription to Audible. So please, guys, remember what Richard and Taj did. If you want people to come in and vote your request up to the top, if you want that 3-month subscription, bring friends. Tell them to vote for yours, and we'll get to it. I'll private message you once the poll is done, once we're ready to start the sound. Well, after the actual requests only, and I will get your info and send you those as gifts. So anyway, on to Ruins of Majesta by Taj McCoy L. And he has some direction in his as well. Let me find it. Oh, looks like Charles Dean's here. What's up, ma'am? Did I say ma'am? What's up, man? Man.
Man! Now you're a man!
Anyone seen Orgasmo? One of the best intro songs ever. Oh, shit, yeah, Truffle. If you're in Atlanta, we'll definitely hang out. All right. So, we got a character list here. Yeah, Charles, you should be there. You should just go there just to drink with us for a second. And then we won't, like, hang out with you after that at all. Like, we'll be like, all right, we're sick of you now. Go. Get out of here. All right. Character list. Maya. Main character. 11-year-old girl. Great. Okay. Margaret. Late 40s, upper middle class woman. Total noob. Okay. Grax. Cat. Teenage boy voice. Okay. Jensen. NPC. Older gruff voice. Says ye and your instead of you and your, and sometimes breaks down into weird sayings. Okay. Travesty. The douche who gets pwned. Please let me know if I need more information about these characters. Okay. Probably not. This seems good. Sorry, just trying to keep up with the rest of the chat. Yeah, sorry, Charles. I didn't know exactly what was going on in that in that prologue scene, so I thought maybe we were experiencing Miller without his Arnoldness, but maybe not. Maybe that's just a part of him forever. All right, Ruins of Majesta by Taj McCoy L. Sorry. Maya and Margaret were finishing their drinks and waiting for food when Jensen slid into their booth. Okay, gotta remember, Jensen's the old gruff voice. Maya's the main character. Margaret is the 40. Okay.
Hello, ladies. He took Margaret's hand in his. So, Margaret, tell me about yourself.
Hey, that mushy stuff can wait till I'm not around.
Maya quickly bashed that conversation to the floor, grinding it into the dirt with her heel.
Besides, we've got tales of trouble and terror to discuss.
Again?
Jensen didn't look fazed at all.
Yep, and I've got under 2 hours to get ready for my duel.
Your duel? It was quite lucky he didn't have a drink.
No, it was quite lucky he didn't have a drink, for he surely would have spat it out in surprise.
Yep, I have a duel at 8 o'clock.
With who? Margaret asked. Maya began the story for both of them about her confrontation with Travesty at the smithy.
Simple-minded, simpleton chauvinists. I'm surprised they still exist. You will lay him out good, won't you, dear?
Margaret gave Maya a look that offered her any support she might need.
Sure thing, Mags. But I wanted to get some strategy from Jensen. I've never fought a duel in Majesta before.
It's the first one I've seen in the training village, but I've had my fair share of them in my day. It's the first rule that you can only use... The first rule is that you can only use what you have at the beginning of the match. I've seen summoners lose by having their pets out before the bell rung, and they've gotten torn apart. The only ones that doesn't affect is necromancers because their magic activates in an external shell. They're allowed to bring corpses, but not dolls or zombies, he said for Margaret's edification. Second, no one can die in a duel in the training village, but the bragging rights and money from the side bets are astronomical. It's a no-holds-barred free-for-all. Better make sure you use your Achilles heel constantly for this.
She hit her head with her hand. She hadn't thought about that. She needed to use Achilles' heel all of the time for it to level it up. She had been wasting time, another of her pet peeves. She triggered it twice in quick succession, areas on Margaret, and then Jensen lit up blue.
All in all, there's not much help I can give you, since I haven't seen this travesty fight. Just manage your stamina like I taught you, and you'll be fine. I'm sure of it.
So, I got this new hammer, and I'm wondering if I should use it. I haven't really trained with it except for the last couple of hours.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting feedback here. Maya's a bit more straightforward Daria-ish. So you want her lower? I mean, she is 11.
How many DP does it deal?
DP? Margaret asked.
Damage points,
Jensen clarified.
17, but it's 15 pounds heavier.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
He shrugged, taking a drink from his mug.
I wish I could have gone to the training field, but I didn't want anyone to see my new runes.
Excuse me. Okay. Taj says her snark is adultish. She's a genius, literally. Okay.
Ooh, you got the rune skill now, do you?
I most certainly do,
She told Jensen about her shield, spike and acid runes. She told Jensen about her shield, spike, and acid runes, but kept the Vergax secret.
New runist usually got 4 new runes,
he said, arching an eyebrow.
And so did I.
So you're keeping secrets from me now.
He made a poor attempt at a sorrowful face.
You'll see, I promise.
Maya laughed at Jensen's antics.
I still haven't even seen it. Since it takes 8 hours to recharge, I'm glad I didn't use it yet. If I had, I wouldn't have gotten to show off Vergie in the duel.
Whatever you're planning, I know it's gonna be spectacular. You never fail to support me. You never fail to disappoint me or my coin purse.
He jiggled the bag at his waist.
Wait, I've got an even better way to get back at this travesty named Travesty.
They all leaned in, and Maya whispered conspiratorially. Margaret and Jensen's faces lit with awe as she outlined the plan. Grax found them as they were leaving the tavern. They did the necessary introductions and recounted a little of Margaret's tale. Grax put his foot in his mouth as soon as he opened it. Okay, so wait a minute. Grax the cat, teenage boy voice, okay.
So you were trapped there for hours and didn't think about respawning? Total noob. Well, rude cat, we're off. I gotta go fight a guy.
Maya turned and started walking towards the practice field. She had a duel to get to and a socially tactless cat to get away from.
Hey, what about food?
He mewled. Maya threw him a Terravol meat.
That should stave off any hunger for a while. And hopefully shut you up. Thanks, Fluff.
Oh, yeah, you got... Well, okay, if I were actually recording Annalise, I wouldn't be stopping so much. But you gotta stop and start for, like, drinking water and stuff. And since I'm talking to you guys, you know, going back and forth.
Thanks, Fluff.
He took a bite and oblivious to manners, began to speak again.
So, who's this guy you're gonna fight?
The words tumbled out with a few bits of terrible meat.
Boys. So dirty. Some jerk who wanted to keep the smithy all to himself. So, he got in your way, huh? And now he gets to be under my way.
She used Achilles' heel on Grax, and the telltale blue areas lit up.
Man, you're creepy when you talk like that. Well, then you better let me pet you when I ask.
She leered at him.
Not when you ask like that.
He laughed.
Oh, by the way, I've got Shadow Eye and want to try it out. Can you shadow step for me?
Sure, no problem.
He disappeared into Margaret's shadow. She squeaked at the suddenly vanishing cat. Maya could still see him, but he had become a foggy outline that melted into the background, making him a bit harder to see. But she could see him clear enough, since she knew where to look.
Thanks, Grax.
No problemo.
As they approached the training field, a sizable crowd was already gathered. She pulled her hood on and shouldered her way into the large ring of people. Travesty stood menacingly in a heavy black breastplate with pauldrons and gauntlets.
Holy jeez. At least he wasn't wasting time in the smithy.
Okay, who is this again? Travesty, that's right, the douchebag.
There you are! He boomed. I didn't think you would show, little girl.
And miss the opportunity to crush your skull in? I think not.
He sneered at her. Jensen forced his way to the center of the ring of spectators.
Now I'm here set some rules. Rule number 1, everybody to the bleachers so these two can move freely.
The spectators began moving back and finding seats.
Rule number 2, this is a no-holds-barred duel. Paladins, use everything you've got in your arsenal. Rule number 3, I'm taking bets on Pretty Princess Cuddlefluff.
There were some chuckles at that, and when they calmed, Jensen finished with,
Now arm yourselves so we can see what we're betting on.
Travesty pulled his bastard sword from his back and held it above his head with one hand. The crowd was starting to get riled up. There were cheers and loud praise, for it was a magnificent sword. The edge was keen, and it looked thirsty. It had ornate scrollwork on the hilt and a small, spiked pommel. It would surely deal significant damage. Maya pulled her new great hammer from her back with some struggling against the straps. She let it fall and rest on the ground, huffing like it took some effort. There were jeers and laughter from the crowd.
Place your bets!
Jensen yelled over the commotion. Maya stood stock still, waiting for the bell to ring. In a few minutes, Jensen said,
All bets in? Let's watch a duel!
Wait!
Maya raised a hand into the air and looked towards Travesty.
How about we make a bet of our own?
What would you have to give me?
Let's see.
She scratched her chin.
I just bought 40 gold worth of supplies today, and I still have about 60 gold and some silver left. How about I bet everything in my bag against everything in your bag?
Everything?
He looked a little perplexed.
Yes, everything, she said.
He was taking his time mulling it over.
Don't tell me big old
bad Travesty is afraid of a widow Goyle.
She activated Skinflint, hoping to make the deal seem more lucrative. She couldn't tell if it was the taunting or the Skinflint that pushed him over the edge. But over the edge he went anyway.
Fine! It's your funeral!
Wait, what?
So why don't we give my Majestan friend over there our bags and give him permission to access them?
Sounds fair, but I want an oath out of him.
Jensen snorted at Travesty, but then said,
May Malkian take me... May Malkian take me if I break my vow.
An oath. Jensen Clanmeister has sworn to uphold the outcome of the battle and decide fairly the rewards and punishments of this duel. If he breaks his vow, you will be notified, and his relationships with Majestans will fall from trusted to untrusted, and his presence attribute will drop to a score of 0 for the length of 1 year. Do you accept? Yes or no? Maya needs to be flatter. She accepted, and Jensen proclaimed,
I have access to both bags.
She looked at Travesty.
Now how am I supposed to take your word for granted, Oathbreaker?
What?
Now how am I supposed to take your word for granted, Oathbreaker?
She spit the last word. I don't understand what that means. Anger rushed into his eyes.
I, Travesty Iron Fist, will uphold the outcome of this duel. If I break my vow, may Malkian come and take me.
Jensen made a strange face at this, shaking his head but saying nothing. She accepted his oath.
Now,
Widow Goyle, it's your turn.
Maya made the same oath, and it was time to duel.
Both fighters stand 20 feet apart.
They positioned themselves on the field.
Ready?
Jensen checked each fighter to make sure they were ready.
To battle!
Maya cast the rune for summon. A shadow raced along her arm from her shoulder to her outstretched hand. Shadows quickly shot forth from her palm, and all 300 pounds of the Vergax formed in midair, a snaring, clawing beast of destruction. It leapt forward on the billowing shadows, crossing 20 feet in a flash and landed right in Travesty's chest. Vergi began to savage him before he even hit the ground. The crowd let up a raucous cheer. She let the cheers fall away to keep it from distracting her. She lifted her hammer with one hand and dumped half of her stamina into her mana as it refilled. She activated Shield and then went on the offensive. Travesty had gotten back on his feet and was swinging at Vergi, trying to ward off her powerful claws.
Idiot. If you kill the summoner, the creature disappears.
Maya pulled a stone from her bag and began the enchantment. Right before it clicked, she threw it at the lumbering cretin, and it exploded in his face. He reeled back and threw a blind fireball at Vergi, who took the hit in the shoulder, removing a quarter of her remaining HP. She was down to 60%. Vergi swiped at his leg. Travesty danced back, trying to get some distance.
How much strength does he have to dance around in armor like that?
Then Vergi took another fireball to the face and dropped to under a quarter of her hit points.
Keep your head in the game, Fluff.
Looking at her hammer, she said,
Time to see what this baby can do.
She circled right to flank Travesty. Vergi was spinning him left with slashes across his face and legs. Travesty didn't dare look away from the big cat. Activating Achilles' heel, crushing blow, and whack-a-vole, she lined up for center of mass and dove into the fray. Travesty took a wild backhanded swing at about her head height. It was close enough for Maya to hear its whistle as the tip of the blade missed her eyes by less than 6 inches. She saw the blue spot on the side of his armor, underneath the arm and above the ribs. She stepped forward under the sword, turned her torso, and in a fierce underhanded golf swing delivered the powerful strike like a cannonball. She followed through with all of her body weight. The strike carried every ounce of strength she possessed. The blow was so powerful that his body practically wrapped around her hammer. His head almost touched his knee, and small pieces of his armor cracked and flew out of his chest. He spun away from Maya before he fell, sprawling in the dirt on all fours. Critical hit, ×4, 272 DP.
Starter armor. Looks good, cracks easy.
Vergi leapt on his exposed back and began to savage him. Her back legs were trying to shred the backs of his thighs and calves. Maya wound up another crushing blow while standing over to his kneeling form. She aimed for the blue at the back of his exposed neck, trying not to hit Vergi. Critical hit ×2, 136 DP. She wound up for another swing, but was frozen in place. A message flashed on her screen and could be heard by everyone present. A pleasant female voice said,
Duel completed. The training village is not a player kill zone. The training village is not a player kill zone. PKZ. Battles between fellow players must abide by duel rules. This duel is over. Winner, Pretty Princess Cuddle Fluff. Thank you for playing Majesta.
The paralyzation passed. The crowd went wild.
Did somebody get that on video? She heard.
If somebody did, I want to see it. That ending felt a bit rushed. I'm going to have to read my combat logs to figure out what happened.
Maya looked down at the unmoving travesty. The front of his head was firmly mashed into the ground. Vergi sat there, just looking at Maya. Maya went to look at her new pet and was decidedly pleased. Maya and Vergi stood eye to eye.
I guess I don't need Grax anymore.
Hey! Came a voice at her feet. Okay, what? Does Vergi have a voice?
But look at her, Graxy. Isn't she just amazing?
Vergi purred her assent.
Hey! Don't belittle my feline majesty just because you found another cat.
What? Okay, no, Vergi is talking. What? I'm confused. Vergi no speak. So who are we? Grax is talking, okay.
Hey! Don't belittle my feline majesty just because you found another cat.
Vergi growled at him. He hissed back. Excuse me. And a cat was what she was. A very large and very muscled, maybe a tad prehistoric, cat with razor-sharp teeth and claws. Her frill was covered in small armored scales that terminated at the base of the 6-inch-long spikes. Those extended past the shield over her neck, kind of like the shield on a triceratops. She had tendrils of shadow wisping off of her, especially underneath the frill. Maya was in love. She gave Vergi a big hug and felt the Vergax's loud purr.
You did good today, girl. Oh, look at those burns. You want to go back and get some rest?
She asked. To her surprise and delight, Vergi nodded.
Guess I'll see you tomorrow, then.
Maya scratched her behind the ear one last time, and Vergi purred and evaporated into shadowy streamers.
This can't be happening!
A roar came from behind. A roar from behind took her by surprise.
There's no way I'm giving you my stuff! You must have cheated!
Travesty stumbled towards Jensen on his shredded legs, clutching his chest with one hand and swinging his sword at anyone who got close. When everyone moved away, he used the sword as a crutch to support himself. His eyes were rolling around in his head like he was concussed, and he swayed as he walked.
Give me my bag!
His words rang with venom. A declaration of war. Okay.
Give me my bag!
There we go. Jensen stood firm.
Now, boy, you made a very serious oath.
Travesty swung his sword, and Jensen easily moved back out of his reach.
If you break this oath, no one can help you. I swear to Atmos and on my mother's grave.
Oh, wait. On me mother's grave? So what, is he supposed to be Scottish? You didn't say that in the description, man. Or did you? Okay. Nope.
If you break this oath, no one can help you. I swear to Aeternus and on me mother's grave, he vowed, holding a hand up to the sky. You don't want to do this.
Travesty swung again, and Jensen stepped back and dropped the bag unceremoniously.
I tried to warn you.
He shook his head sadly, as if knowing what would come next would not be pleasant. As soon as the bag was in Travesty's grip, thunder and lightning crackled and boomed throughout the night sky.
You blasted dunderhead! He yelled over the roaring winds. You shouldn't have broken your oath. When you say, may Malkian come and take me, it means exactly that.
What do you mean? Travesty suddenly looked scared.
He might pee his pants,
Maya thought earnestly.
You fool! I'm sure you'll be fine in the dark recesses of whatever place Malkian puts you. But let this be a lesson to you. Let this be a lesson to you all. Oathbreakers have no place in Majesta.
Dark clouds swirled and descended onto the field in a twisting vortex of shadow and fury laced with ominous red lightning. Quick as a snake, the tornado touched down right where Travesty stood, mouth agape, staring upwards. He screamed, quite like a teenage girl, until the winds deafened everyone to his pleas for mercy. When the funnel clouds ascended, there was a pile of loot, and no Travesty to be found anywhere. Maya stood and stared, slack-jawed. Jensen clapped her on the back.
Think no more of it. He's in Malkin's loving care now. Besides, we've got winnings to split.
He clapped his hands and smiled greedily. Maya had a sinking feeling in her gut as she studied the place where Travesty had last stood. Her intuition told her this wouldn't be the last time she saw him. But she really prayed her intuition was wrong. All right. So that's it. That's Ruins of Majesta by Taj L. And thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us for Sound Booth Theater Live. How many people are on YouTube right now? 12 people. So, yeah. Great attendance today. Thank you so much to Taj and Richard for bringing all these people over to the Facebook group, the Sound Booth Theater Live Facebook group. If you haven't made it over there and signed up or joined the group by now, go ahead and go do that. There's also, posts up showing where you can subscribe to our newsletter. All the links to all the stuff that I've read today is in the description of this video. And, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And, yeah, keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on the Sound Booth Theater Live Facebook group because I'm not exactly sure how things are going to go for Saturday. I'm still going to do the requests only, but it's going to be, I don't know, maybe at a bar. Maybe, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I'm going to think of something creative and do that. So, anyway, we'll keep you up to date. Go vote. Bring other people in to vote on your request. If you haven't made a request yet, go ahead and do that. We'll put you on the poll and get your friends to come in and vote so that you can win your 3-month subscription to Audible. So, yeah, thanks again, everybody, especially to our authors, Charles Dean for requesting War Aeternus 2, Taj L for requesting Ruins of Majesta, and Richard Hummel for requesting Radioactive Evolution? Is that what it's called? Hold on. Let me go on. Yes, Radioactive Evolution. And yeah, that's the show for today. Thanks so much, guys, and I will